AskReddit. Normal Redditors that dated a celebrity, what was it like? A fairly close acquaintance of mine at the time went on a few dates with Natalie Portman when they were both at Harvard around 2002. He said she was exceptionally down to earth, genuine, and very engaging. Rosario Dawson liked 2 of my tweets once, so you could say it was getting pretty serious. My mom had a dinner date with George Clooney in the 90s. She didn't really say much apart from the fact that he's an interesting and charismatic guy, but she honestly didn't think he was going to blow up. My best friend's mom worked with him years ago, their early 20s or college age-ish. He was a shoe salesman, she was security. Said he talked about wanting to act and get famous and everyone doubted him, but he was always nice to everyone, and a likable guy. Not a date, per se, but I had a nice quiet dinner with Samantha Fox in her hotel room in Toronto in the 80s. She was in town for a show, and I was attached to her security detail. She asked me to eat with her because she didn't want to go out, but hated eating alone. Sweet girl, kinda sad too. Lonely. A family friend's mom went clubbing with Lady Gaga. Afterwards, Gaga asked if she knew who she was. Friend's mom had no idea. My aunt lived down the street from Leonardo DiCaprio when she was a kid. He was her first kiss. She was 12, he was 13. It was behind the school gym. Apparently he was a really nice kid. She moved away before he started landing roles, totally lost touch. Not me, but my aunt dated Matthew McConaughey before he was famous. He ended up getting invited to her wedding to my normal uncle and proceeded to pass out drunk in the back of my family's car. He refused to leave, and now my dad refuses to watch his movies. My aunt kissed Gordon Lightfoot in a bathroom at one of his concerts. I'm guessing there was probably more, but she didn't elaborate. She probably went down like the Edmund Fitzgerald. My aunt went on a date with Jimmy Buffett. She said he picked her up, stopped at a gas station, bought a jar of pickles, and then drove to the beach. They ate pickles, and he took her home. My mom lived in Key West in the early mid-80s. She dated Sting for a while. He had a really nice yacht, and they went on a sailing trip during which he realized my mom is psycho. She is. He ended it right after. Sometimes to duck with my dad I'll start singing Roxanne or Message in a Bottle. R. Kelly asked me on a date in the mid-90s. I declined because I had a boyfriend at the time. Besides, I was too old for him lol. So you were, what, 18 years old? I have a family friend who dated Daniel Radcliffe. I was 7 at the time they dated, and a huge Harry Potter fan. I don't remember much aside from the fact that he was a really sweet guy. On my 8th birthday, my family friend told Daniel it was my birthday and he texted me a personal happy birthday message despite never having met me. Absolutely made it the best birthday ever. My friend's aunt went on a blind date with Jared Butler, circa 300, the movie, not the year. There was a big miscommunication because he was looking for a hookup and she's a kindly French Canadian woman in her 50s, but they both had a laugh about it and enjoyed supper with each other. She said he was very kind and very muscular. That little monster kid from the first Mad Maximum lived next door to us as kids and constantly chased my sister around trying to kiss her. My aunt was married to Van Morrison briefly. Here they are together on this album artwork. No interesting stories that I could remember. They were in love, but he was always gone, so it didn't work out. I was told that he would play guitar for the fam on Christmas get-togethers. My mom was really good friends with Andre the Giant, Andrei Rousimov, because he used to frequent her place of work. According to her he was the sweetest, most gentle man she ever met in her life. She misses him. I dated Fox Pavilion for 7 years. It was great. So we got married in January. I enjoy my own company, so the touring isn't really a problem. Edit. I posted that and then felt guilty about such a low effort post. So, it's nice to share my life with a person so creatively fulfilled. I love hearing whatever he's worked on that day when he gets home. I get to tag along to cool places, and it's sweet to see how much people care about his music. I generally don't try to explain what he does when I meet new people because they either won't get it and don't care, or they do get it, care too much, and then only want to talk to me about his music. Largely though, just a normal happy marriage. He judges me when I listen to Radio 1. I judge him when his phone isn't on silent. His job isn't much of a factor in our daily life. I married Josh, not Flux Pavilion. Really? He's an excellent husband for myriad reasons, and his musical talent is only one of those. My uncle is a ski instructor in Northern California and had a coffee date with Pink. And then he said they ducked, but even I don't believe that. He worked at Mammoth Lakes Ski Resort, so they would get lots of high profile names / celebs coming through. He has pictures with Shaun White and says he's actually a really cool guy that will give you the time of day. Not me, but my aunt dated Weird Al Yankovic when she was in her mid-20s. I wasn't alive back then, but my family tells me he was a genuinely funny person in a way you wouldn't very much expect. I can't personally give any examples, but my dad and aunt have plenty of stories. One of my much older cousins actually has a signed guitar that Al played with in a live show. My aunt and Al met from my dad being a radio DJ as a teenager, and he met a lot of celebrities through that. Mostly 90s and early 2000s pop and country stars, but anyways, the station my dad worked at threw Weird Al a birthday party, and my aunt just happened to be there, and they ended up together for a decent amount of time. Every once in a while Al will come into town to say hi to her. Even though they aren't together, they are still friends. And no, Al isn't cheating on his wife with my aunt. My aunt's a strong married Christian, and I'm more than 100% sure she wouldn't do that. One of these days I might end up meeting him, which I think would be pretty cool. Dated a famous player on the Giants. Ego was huge. Eggplant was huge. Date was intimidating. Sex was disappointing. He paid for my Uber 2 hours away, lol. Edit. Football, not OBJ. But it was 3 letters. And I doubt he was on steroids. One of my dad's close friends is Jim Carrey's first wife. Apparently he turned into kind of a dick when he got famous. Shocking, I know. I remember a decade or so again when their grown kids band was trying to make a living with their music. She really wanted Jim to help them get bookings and stuff, and he was all they need to make it on their own. Then he got a new girlfriend who told him to help his kid out, and he did. First wife is still salty about that. Probably too late for this, but about 15 years ago, when the show The Simple Life with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie was popular, I made out with Paris Hilton at a nightclub in Baltimore. Essentially, they were filming them doing all sorts of random jobs around the country and staying with local families, all for the culture clash laughs. One of those families ended up being my friend and her family. Being a close friend and a well-known admirer of Paris at the time, I was invited over and got to hang with her and Nicole Richie a good amount while they were in town. Both of them were super sweet and a lot smarter than they played for the camera. Paris was a great kisser, and this story is always a hit with my friends. A few months later, her phone was hacked and nudes were leaked. My number was in her phone book, and I got spammed with prank calls from 4chan or something. I imagine it was a lot worse for anyone who was actually famous. Anyhow, basically lost total contact after that. But still a fun story. Jonah Hill awkwardly slid me his number when I worked in a hotel he was staying at. We went to coffee once, and he got super clingy. Asked me for nudes every day. I was 20 and a virgin. He wanted to throw me a 21 Street birthday party in Palm Springs, and when I politely declined, he turned real and said goodbye. He wasn't even funny. Damn, I'm so late, and I know this will get buried, but when my mom's aunt died, they were going through her stuff and found a picture of her sitting on JFK's lap. No one knew anything about it. JFK almost definitely slept with your mom's aunt. He boned nearly every White House intern he had. Friend of mine dated Brad Pitt in college 2 or 3 dates, if I remember correctly. I went to a different school, but remember meeting him when I went to visit my friend. One of my friend's dad's friends is a plumber and got called to do a job for Doug Pitt, Brad's brother. Well, Brad just happened to be visiting when plumber guy showed up. Plumber guy introduced himself to Doug, who is kind of a hometown celebrity, philanthropist, etc. Then looked at Brad and jokingly said, "Ah, you must be Doug's brother." Brad didn't find that too funny. I matched with Chloe Moretz on Bumble once, but then I said I liked her in Dark Shadows and she ghosted. Edit. I'm a girl and her account was verified lol. My college roommate's cousin, I believe, went on a date, maybe multiple dates, with Army Hammer before he blew up in the social network, and apparently he forgot all about the date or dates they went on, and when he tried to reintroduce himself to her at another encounter, she said something along the lines of, "I know, we used to date. Pretty sure the guy's married now." My wife's aunt fucked David Hasselhoff 30 odd years ago. She worked in the television industry. She is now a lesbian lol. My uncle hooked me up to see Foreigner in 1981, including 2 backstage passes. I took a girl I really liked, but she ended up meeting Mick Jones and disappearing with him into a dressing room. I didn't see her again that night, so I guess you could say I got ducked by Mick Jones. My cousin was hit on by Shaq at a festival. When she pointed out that he was married, he allegedly said, "I'm Muslim. I'm allowed to have many wives." I had an English teacher that went on a date with Mark Hamill just after filming Star Wars in the 70s. She said he was a nice guy and was very humble. He said he was a small-time actor and said he had just finished a new movie that he thought might be successful. They only went out once and she never heard from him again. Saw him in Star Wars a few months later and had her mind blown. Years ago at a hotel bar party, I saw Alicia Cuthbert sent a bottle of vodka to her table. Upon learning it was me who sent it, she motioned me over to her table, promptly asked me if I was a drug dealer, told me I was dressed like a bum, and sent me back to my table with my bottle of vodka. That was my date with Alicia. I guess we just weren't meant to be. Edit. To answer some of your questions, I don't think she was looking for drugs. She said something like, "Besides dealing drugs, what are you doing here?" I was like 20 at the time and a bit overconfident. This was roughly 13 years ago, I think. I'm not creepy, haha. I saw a hot celebrity, was a little drunk, and took a swing. A lot of "she's a BTCH" comments. I wouldn't call her a BTCH for turning down the advances of some random dude that is 4 years younger than her. I also later found out that she was dating an NHL hockey player at the time. I never stood a chance. Not dated for any of these stories, but semi-related. My mom went to a party with Janis Joplin. She said she was wild, funny, but crude, and smelled like she hadn't showered or brushed her teeth in weeks. Janis Joplin died not long after. I went to university in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Seeing Bam Margera, Ryan Dunn, and crew was a relatively common sight. The first time I saw them was the same night I got the call from my parents telling me that my family dog was put down, very old, very sick. My friends took me out drinking, and we ran into Bam and crew. Bam asked why I was down, and when I told him, he bought my drinks for the rest of the night. I went out bar hopping with them a few times after that. They were nice, but wild. Could never quite prepare myself for a night out with them. Ryan was as kind as could be and absolutely hilarious. A friend of mine banged Matthew McConaughey. She's a costumer in Hollywood and was hanging out in the bar at Chateau Marmont when Matt comes up to her and says, "How about you and me walk 30 feet and get naked?" Her initial response was lol no, but by the end of the night her friends convinced her she had to do it. This was peak 2000s Matt, when he was ripped and constantly shirtless. So she went up to his room at the hotel and they banged. Apparently it was sweaty, mostly from behind, and he preferred to watch them, mostly him, in the mirror. My mom dated Keanu Reeves back in high school. She broke up with him because he was too focused on his band with his friends at the time. If only. Not a romantic date in the least, but I had dinner once at a Japanese restaurant in a group setting with Leonardo DiCaprio while he was in Louisiana filming Django Unchained. He wanted to know what college was like and was asking us all about our lives. He also let me try his udon. It was my first ever Instagram post. He really is such a nice guy in the limelight, and in real life it felt like we were hanging out with our friend. My aunt was in an off-again on-again relationship with David Bowie. She was probably about 20 years younger than him. But he first saw her at a party in LA and a woman came up to her and asked her if she wanted to meet David. He would put in her shoes and dance around. She said it was very sad to watch him throughout the years as he became addicted to cocaine. She was also on the 1980 Playboy cover with Steve Martin. They went out for drinks a few times after that and said he was mostly shy and very quiet. She had a signed copy from him that said "Thanks Amy for you know what." My friend's sister-in-law was out jogging when some other random dude came up and jogged with her and talked with her about random stuff like the movie being filmed nearby at the time for a bit. After a bit of that, he said, "Oh, by the way, I hope you like the movie." They were filming The Force Awakens, and she only realized later that it was Harrison Ford.